Now, the first topic for today will be on the concept of variable. What is a variable? Simple statement. A memory in the program to store data. That's it. A memory in the program to store data is called as a variable. Any language, irrespective of the language, variables are required to store information. And when we start going with variable, think that it is a memory which can store information. That's it. Depending on language to language, you have to declare a variable. You have to declare a variable. As the name says, it keeps changing. That's the reason it is called as a variable. Means the memory keeps changing the information or data. That is the reason we call it as a variable. Constant, we'll discuss it later. Declare a variable. What is the syntax of it? Syntax is a process or the way you need to follow based on the language. Almost any language which is being invented later, the language C, including C language, they follow the very basic simple syntax. First comes data type, space, you can have one or more than one, will have variable name. Every memory in your program should be named. That is called as a variable name. On the right hand side, let me explain you the naming rules and naming conventions. Conventions are the best practices to be followed. Naming rules are the rules. It has to be followed. Conventions is optional. Rules are mandatory. Whenever you name in any language, try to follow these basic fundamental rules. Any language. First thing, whenever you want to name a variable, start it with alphabet or underscore. Apply this for your SQL column names also. Rule number 2. Names can have a combination of alphabet, that is alphabets, one more than one. It can have numbers and underscore. This is the general one. Third rule, don't use language keywords. Any variable name which has already been taken by the language itself are called as keywords. These are the very basic simple naming rules. It might vary when we go into specific language. Naming conventions. When we want to name a variable, it should be a noun. Whenever we want to name a function, it should be a verb. Whenever we want to name a class, once again it goes with a noun. When it comes to a variable, it can be a noun or it can be anything which represents the data what you store. Anything which represents the data what you store. It can be As I mentioned, it preferably it will be a noun or anything which you want to store. This is convention. We usually follow this convention in most of the languages. The next one, based on language. Some languages are case sensitive, means some respect uppercase, lowercase. Some are case insensitive. So now let us see some examples here. Whenever we want to name a variable, we need to follow rules and conventions, and this is the general syntax of it. Now, when it comes to data type, which will be discussed in the next video, data type varies between your compiled and interpreted languages, but the syntax remains same. You might learn C, C++, Java, PHP, AMScript, SHJS, anything. This is the basic syntax. Unlike any language, in English we have full stop. I am in a class. It is a sentence. In programming language, we have statement. Means you have to end it with semicolon. It can be a single line or it can be in a multiple line. So this is a statement. Sentence ends with full stop. Statements ends with semicolon in general. Clear till here? So in English we have full stop and we call it as a sentence. And in programming language we have semicolon and we call it as statement. We might have multiple statements. I am in class, comma, call you later, full stop. Exactly same way, we might have more than one in a statement. Data type, variable name 1, comma, variable name 2, comma, variable name 3, semicolon. One statement is trying to have 3 variables declared. 3 variables declared. So what is that we need to follow? We need to ensure that the names are unique in that program. It should be unique in that program. If it is case sensitive language, A, capital A are treated differently. City, each of these are treated as different variables. Each of them can be of different variables. So coming to the next one, that is in the rules, we need to know the name, length of the name. Some languages supports only 8 characters in a name, some support 16, some supports 32, and some support 64, or it might be even more than this. Every time it will be doubled. The length of the name can be 1 character, 2, 4, 8, 16. This is the limit of it. For example, let's assume that we are executing a C program. It will support, or it might support, only up to 16 character length name. For example, this is my name. What is the length of the name? It is around 6 plus 6 plus 13 character length, 13 or 14. Exactly same way, let's assume that we are executing a Java program. In Java program, it will support a name up to 64 character length. So we need to know about this one as and when we progress. The next one is whether it is a case sensitive language or is it a case insensitive language. So everyone is clear with this. What is a variable? a memory in the program to store data. Now we need to decide the type of data. What kind of data you want to store? That's where the type comes into picture. That is data type. Variable name, I've just discussed about the naming rules and conventions. We'll deep dive into all these concepts when we are dealing with this specific language when we start learning. This concept is very generic. So each one is represented by a statement. In English, we have sentence ended by a full stop in general, or it might be a question mark. But in programming languages, irrespective of it is a C, C++, compiled or interpreted language, we will generally have this semicolon. In Python or in Ruby, we have a difference. We'll just try to know about that later. Good. So let me stop this. So what we discussed, let me recap on that. We discussed about variable. What is a variable? We discussed about the naming rule and naming convention. Based on the languages, some might be treated as like this, and what should be the length of the name is decided by the language in which you are executing. Good with this? So the next topic will be on data type. So we'll be picking 3 data types in the next video. Thank you.